Instagram. This is the He Nuh show. And this evening, as usual, we have an amazing show lined up for you. And in studio with us. And you're going to take a journey with me because I'm meeting this amazing young lady for the very first time, Angie.
Yes.
So, in doing a deep dive into Angie and who she is as a person, how she presents herself to the world, I've been learning Angie is an entrepreneur, heavily into hair care, skin care. Um, what else, Angie? Tell me. You tell me.
Yeah, before Angie tells you, I am familiar with Angie. I know Angie from since I was probably 4 years old,
Yeah,
5 years old.
Oh, that's a long term.
That's long term.
it's a long
Yeah.
time.
And Angie has to be one of the most talented people to ever exist in St. Kitts. And I don't say that lightly. Because I'm a man that listens to a lot of music, study a lot of art and stuff like that. And Angie is one of the most talented creatives that we ever had on this island. You know, Angie was super close to signing music contracts and stuff like that back, years ago when music contracts was a thing. Like it was a dream
As a musician?
as a musician, as a singer songwriter. Yes.
Okay. Oh, so you got.
He's giving you insight that I don't even speak about.
That's what I'm telling you. So Angie is, you know, when you talk about the creative business, the hair business, design business, everything has business. Right? There's always two pillars. You got design, then business. Angie has always, maintained both sides, the design and business.
Okay. Let's hear from Angie. So, Angie, you're based in the US.
Yes, I'm based in New York City.
Alright.
I have quite a few businesses. Tiva brought me onto this show. I typically shy away from them, but because of Tiva asked, I came. So I have a natural hair care company. I have another company called Afronique that deals with skincare and self-care. So you'll find hair products, skincare products, bath salts, bath soaps, things of that nature. I also have another company called Crochet Divas.
Okay.
Under Crochet Divas, that's my design. So that's where people will contact me so I can make them custom clothing. Then go over into the carnival world. I have a sub of Crochet Divas. It's called Regal Carnival. And that is where you'll only find costumes.
Okay.
So I had to separate the two. There's no way I wanted you to get on that page and notice that it only had carnival costumes. Whereas on Crochet Divas, you will see the gowns, you'll see the outfits and things of that nature.
Okay. All right. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Okay.
How many years, like total, you've been doing like the Regal and Crochet Divas?
Regal Carnival is pretty new. She's only about 3 years old. Crochet Divas, however, is about 15 years old. And natural hair, that is about 20 years old.
So you've been
I've been doing
Being
it, yeah.
around the world. Yeah.
I've been doing it.
entrepreneur.
Yes.
Okay. So, as it relates to being a dominant female in the world, somebody that's charting her own course, how does that affect your interactions with the opposite sex? Have you found that as a strong woman, it's difficult for you to find a suitable masculine?
Maybe.
And I'm assuming that you're into a heterosexual relationship.
Some of the difficulties I have that have presented themselves has been men who they like what they see.
Right.
You like the outside is pretty, right?
Yeah, the physical appearance.
Yes, they like that. But then they would ask you to become less for them. You work too hard. Okay, but I have to take care of myself. If I stop doing the things that I'm doing to take care of me and mine, can you take over? Usually that answer is no. Usually that answer is no. So if I step back from doing what's necessary for me, that makes you feel better. Why? We're supposed to coexist.
And you found that that's the reality with most men,
A lot of them.
that they are intimidated almost by a woman that is driven and goal oriented.
I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but they want you to, I don't know if it's be less independent and dependent on them, whereas I feel we're supposed to be codependent of each other.
Right.
You're supposed to have your own thing going on, and I have my own thing going on. Therefore, we're both not responsible for each other's well-being. We're not supposed to be. You know, I was telling Atiba something earlier today that we as girlfriends, wives, husbands, and boyfriends are not each other's therapists. I can't, if you and I are in a relationship, I cannot be your therapist. I can go through things with you, I can hold your hand, I can empathize, I can sympathize with you, but I am not your therapist. It is not fair. You have to unload that with somebody else because there are things that you're not going to talk to your girlfriend or your wife about.
Right.
That you will talk to your boys about, that you will talk to your therapist about. It's more freeing, it's less judgment there. Whereas with your girlfriend, like me, I like to always ask why. Why? Why did you do that? Not to be condescending, but to push you to answer so you can find your why.
Yeah. For deeper analysis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can find your why. But sometimes in conversating with people, they think that you're asking why because you're arguing.
Yeah.
And you're not. You're trying to find out what's the reason, what makes you tick. Why are you like this?
So is it then to be interpreted that most men are shallow in the way that we engage in relationships, from your experience at least?
I'm not going to use the word most, right? Most is too broad. But many,
The ones you've met so far.
not all,
Okay.
but many are extremely shallow. They like what they see, like I said. And then they are, I don't like to use the word intimidated either, but they are. Their approach, it's all in your approach. Their approach is, I don't even know what word to use with that.
So let me ask you a question. And I know you can't generalize this question. This response can't be general. It will always be individual. But do you think that women would respect a man the same way if he doesn't have the ability to put the same amount of food on the table that she does, or bring the same financial resources into the relationship that she does? Do you feel like the level of respect that he's able to earn within that relationship is lowered in some way?
Because
That's a loaded
because there is this idea that women hardly or never date down. They only date across laterally or date up.
That's called hypergamy. Women date up or across.
Generally, we do.
Okay.
I'm not even going to lie to you. Because it could be culturally, it's just how things have been for the longest. In African culture, you don't, if you're a king, you're not going to give your daughter to somebody who herd sheep. You want her to still be able to have the same lifestyle that she's had with you. So, when you marry her to another family that's going to take care of her. You see? Now, in today's day and age, you know, things are a little bit different. If I go out and I make a lot of money, people like to say this thing called, what do you bring to the table? And I laugh each time. Because what you bring to the table each time is different. Now, you may be out, let's say you're a farmer, right? Let's say give me something.
Lawyer.
Let's say I'm a lawyer, right? But I can't cook. But you're able to till the soil, cook this food, and take care of these children while I'm out making this money.
Okay. So
It doesn't mean that I'm supposed to come back and disrespect you because you have brought something to the table that another man that is working, that is of the same class as me, will never do.
okay, so in your
You
statement there, but
may bring respect to me, that another lawyer will not, because then now you guys are only talking about money. You see? You as a lawyer, you make $100,000 a year. Me as your wife makes 98. You're gonna still expect me to do a lot of things that are expected of certain sexes in a relationship. Whereas the man that's not making as much, he's coming from a different angle to help you. Because together in a relationship, you're actually like helpmates. People don't look at things like that.
So the relationship is more about balance.
I believe in balance.
Okay.
Maybe other people don't believe in balance, but I believe in balance. When I work too hard, one of my friends was laughing at me the other day because I was like, listen, I got to go. I'm just doing too much. I need a break. Balance for me is realigning. I have to stop doing all of this to get back to my center of calm. So I go on vacation. I take time off. My clients are upset right now that I'm here for 6 weeks. And I told them, book me when I get back. I worked very hard. I play and I work. All play, it's no good. So for me, balance is core for me. But everybody is different. It's something I said to somebody the other day. Men do something that women don't do. Men size each other up. Every single man. From children to old men. Men size each other up.
What do you mean, size each other up?
To see if whether or not you can disrespect each other. You size each other up. Women don't have that. They just normally are disrespectful.
Okay.
One woman would quickly disrespect another woman.
But I think there's a evolutionary component to that, though. When a man sizes another man up to see if he can disrespect him, it's because men are more prone to physical violence. So if I'm going to disrespect you, I must be able to defend it physically. Whereas women
Don't have
settle
that.
their disputes verbally,
Yeah.
defamation of character. So a woman would walk around town all day and say bad things about you, but she
that's
wouldn't
awful.
necessarily come and put hands on you.
But that's awful, though.
It
You see
is.
what I mean?
Right.
It is awful.
So, I feel like the sizing up is the same. It's just the repercussions are a little bit different.
Could be, because there are women who would straight up disrespect a man for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason at all, because she's having a bad day. You know what I mean? Men tend to not do that. I find that when men most men that I know, let me say that, when they do disrespect women, it's because it's gotten to a point where they can no longer be quiet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or if they're really insecure. I find insecure men do it. Insecure men disrespect women a lot.
That too.
But if you find a man who has values, he wouldn't easily disrespect a woman. A man with values is more inclined to protect a woman. Because I can't even see myself saying something bad to a woman. And I can't watch somebody doing something to a woman that I know is wrong. So, and it's all because of my values. But I know guys who, they might see you on the strip or see you somewhere and they try to say something to you and you don't respond in the right way or the way that they feel you should. And it's be a clot from there.
Yes. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. I know it goes.
So, I feel like that's the way it works out.
So, how do you feel about, being in a relationship and a man treating you as like the number one? Like, do you want to be treated as the number one thing in his life?
Absolutely not.
You went into the mic for that one.
Yes. Yes, absolutely not.
Why is that?
I do not want to be responsible for someone's emotional well-being. I do not want to be responsible for, how their day goes or anything like that. You're supposed to, like I said before, we're supposed to be codependent of each other. And I think that sometimes when men or women, they want to be considered number one, it's also a form of trying to control the person. You You're supposed to be able to go out and have drinks with your friends or go have dinner, play dominoes. And I'm supposed to be able to do the same thing with my friends. You're supposed to be able to go away on trips with your family without me, sometimes with me, but not everything together. To me, that is disastrous. Because then what happens when it doesn't work out?
Yeah, you don't set up yourself to be an individual.
No.
What I've found, though, or at least what I see, is I think it's a function of validation. So your people tend to feel like your partner should validate you, and guys do it a lot. Like a guy would go after the most attractive girl because it validates him. It's not so much what does she have going on up here. You know,
They
like
say,
men.
oh yeah, I've had her.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
I know how it
You know,
goes.
and
Yeah.
men tend to objectify women.
Yeah.
In that way, women do the same thing. It's just a little bit different. If a man has social standing, he validates her because it's all look who she deal with. You know, like
Which we said before. Remember when we talked about women dating up?
right.
Yeah.
So look who she deal with. Oh,
Yeah.
that's she man. He must be taking care of. And she could go to the bank and get a loan, or so she man buy a. You know what I mean? So it's that social validation.
Yeah.
And for men, the validation is purely superficial. It's purely superficial. Like men don't tend to go after women who can build them houses or buy them cars. They tend to go after the prettiest woman or the pastor's daughter that nobody else could get type thing. You get me? So I feel like that's one of the reasons why we pursue relationships differently. But have you found that the men that you are meeting are evolving in terms of the content that they or what they're looking for? And especially being somebody that's international and that has traveled, what's your experience like with just men generally?
You know, how do I say this? It truly does differ based on each person and their core values. It really depends on how people are raised.
Yeah.
You know, that plays. I find now at my age, how people are raised truly affects who they are in a relationship. So whereas like if you and I are having a conversation and we disagree, I'm going to say my piece, but I'm not raising my voice at you. But I find that in relationships that I've had, the men tend to want to raise their voice at me. So while they're raising their voices, exactly what you just did, laugh, is what I start to do.
Yeah.
So while I'm laughing, that angers them even more. Because in my head, I'm trying my very best to not get upset. Because who are you talking to? You see? So when they're finished now, I go, when you're ready to have a conversation with me, hit me up. Because I heard nothing.
Meaning you don't respond to aggression.
No. Because if I meet you with the same level of aggression that you give me as a man, you're going to deem me as a disrespectful woman. When you initiated the disrespect by yelling
That's an interesting.
and screaming at me.
That's an interesting take, though. I mean, I know some men do it. I know some men, they tend to exert dominance by
Yelling.
yelling. Yeah, and the yelling is an indication of dominance. You know, I have this power, or I'm willing to use physical force. But I find women, because they're more emotionally charged, they tend to get louder first. At least from my experience.
And you know, as you said that too, you know, you talk about that when you, for me personally, from some of my understanding, like when you see a man is that level of emotion and you get aggressive in that kind of way, like especially short-tempered and stuff like that, is usually, if you study the background, they usually get raised by a single mother sometimes. Maybe the father might be around, but their father was probably raised by a single mother, so they kind of exhibit the same like behaviors, that level of aggression to get loud, because it comes from that, from my reading and understanding about stuff like that. Because sometimes the male figure, because the males are usually supposed to be kind of calm and steady,
stoic.
stoic in a sense. But if you don't see that, if you don't have anybody to emulate that from, or learn the pattern from, you will never have a use. Yeah.
But then again, some people might say that's a stereotype, though, that a man is supposed to be this way, stoic and very reserved and very calculated and wise.
But you can express yourself without being aggressive. Aggression does not make you dominant. When if a man comes to me, he's very aggressive. The first thing that comes to me is he's insecure. That's the first thing that comes to my head. Oh, okay. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So for someone else to have a man approach them with that aggression, depending on how they were raised, they may look at it and say, oh, okay, I have to behave myself. Not me. I'm going to move out your way. Because for me, if you behave this way, you are more than likely willing or capable of harming me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You understand? So when I choose the men that I date, remember before we got on air, I told you, I protect myself first. I don't go into anything trusting nobody. No one,
Skeptical.
I'm very skeptical up front. And that is why I always say you should date. Dating in the Caribbean culture is frowned upon. But you should date.
Oh yeah, we've had conversations.
You
about
should
that.
date.
So let me ask you, what do you consider to be dating? What's the rules of engagement of dating?
That is all personal. Whatever you choose to do while you're dating, you choose to do while you're dating.
Unless if you want Tinder, it out.
If you
just
want,
Tinder.
yeah, it's personal. And I'm not here to judge you
Yeah.
because if that's what you choose to do, more power to you. How else are you going to know whether or not you like this or not? You see what I mean? So this is why dating is very important. When you're dating, you just don't date one person. You have to date more than one. You have to.
Why?
Dating does not. When you go to McDonald's
Simultaneously? Sorry.
When you go to
Wait. Let's clarify.
It depends.
When you're dating, you should date more than one person simultaneously.
it depends on your environment.
It depends on your environment, or it depends on personal choice.
Personal choice comes based on your environment. If you're somewhere where there are multitudes of people, right? And you're having conversations with them. Let's say you're on a dating site,
Yeah.
That's the environment.
Yeah, Tinder.
Okay. Tinder is kind of different, but yeah. Right? So let's say you're on a dating site. You swipe left, you double tap, you inbox so you can go on a date. So you may go on a date this morning. Your date could be a lunch date. Dates don't mean that it turns into something sexual.
Right.
You're just going out, meeting someone. Just like I can meet Tiba and say, Tiba, let's go have lunch.
Yeah.
That's a lunch date with a friend. You see, I can see you 2 seconds after. Let's go have some drinks. That's another lunch date with you.
Right.
You see, but people especially like in our society would see me now with Tiba. We only had drinks, had lunch. Left Tiba, they watch me now go out with you. Now all of a sudden I'm a name.
But that's a function of living in a small society, though.
But did they do anything wrong?
They didn't do anything wrong. But okay.
But what is wrong?
Here's the dynamic. Here's the dynamic that I think I've identified. Right. We live in a small society. Right. Traditionally, Kittian women have always been hyper defensive. So even if you're polite, a woman is on the defense. Like, I've seen women and said good morning, and they look at me strange. Like,
Yes, I've seen it too.
or I hold the door open, and they suspect something, or like I hear it. Oh,
As opposed to
I
just
think he
saying
likes
thank
me.
you?
Yeah, I think he likes me type thing. So
Yeah.
women have developed that defensive mechanism in their behaviors towards men. So they're always hyper defensive.
Do you think it's because something may have happened to them traumatically before?
No,
I
Or
think
it's
it's
just
cultural.
cultural
But
Yeah.
it's not something that happened to them as well. But I think that some women, when they are actually responsive to the politeness, some men take it to another level.
Oh
and
yeah,
see- and see that they should-
overboard.
That
so,
too.
Right. So I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Women have to be defensive because they have to protect themselves from some of these ignorant dudes that are walking around.
Amen.
Okay. Right. So in the St. Kitts Nevis environment, if you are seen with T-Ball today, Thursday, and then Friday they see you with me, you know, people gonna assume, okay, yeah, she look like she kind of fast.
But what does
And
your assumption have to do with me?
it doesn't have
You
anything to
see
do
what I'm
with you.
saying?
But
You can assume whatever you want to assume. And people just need to leave people alone and let people live their lives. Because if I'm dating a man, let's say I was dating a man, a young man, when I was in high school here,
yeah,
17 years old, 16 years old.
yeah,
Who you're dating at 17 and 16 cannot be with you I'm not going to say cannot. Let me change that. It is difficult
right.
for you guys to still be together at even 25
Because you change as
because
people.
you change as people. You understand?
Yeah,
So now, if I break up with Tiba because Tiba is abusive, they don't know that a Tiba is abusive. And then he beat me up today, but nobody knows because I don't speak. Then they see me with you tomorrow. All of a sudden, they will come and tell you most things, not knowing that you were my savior from him.
mm-hmm.
That's what I mean when I say people mind their business.
Right. But okay, so in that scenario, it's almost a clear transition. But with dating, is you trying to feel people out.
Yeah.
And in a small place like St. Kitts, you're going to say, okay, you know, I'm dating Angie. Angie and I are going to go to the movies. Okay?
But do people in these islands date?
No, we don't.
Exactly.
We don't.
And that's a problem.
But it's a cultural construct.
But you know-
So you don't date.
Yeah.
So I go out with Angie. Then I go with Jessica Monday. And then by Wednesday, I'm with another girl somewhere over on the beach somewhere, right? Everybody's going to look at me and say, oh, yo, he macking.
But can I ask you a question? While you're dating, do you let those 3 women that you just mentioned know that you're openly dating? Because communication is also a big issue.
Yeah, well, I was about
If
to
we
talk
are
about the
dating,
communication.
you're
Yeah.
supposed to say, hey, not supposed to. You should. It would be nice if you say, hey, we're just going on a date. I like you. I want to get to know you. Let's go to the movies. But I just want you to know that this isn't, like, we're not together.
Yeah, but listen, that's so hyper complicated, right? And
Why?
I'll give you an example. I meet a girl, right? I'm because of who I am as a person, I behave a particular way. She likes it, and obviously she doesn't see the whole me. She doesn't see
She sees your representative.
right. She sees the representative, so she meets that version of me, and she likes it. You know, maybe it's dominant, maybe it's charismatic, maybe I pay for everything, whatever it is that she is attracted to. So she's attracted to all these things. Women, being the emotional beings that you are,
Most of us.
most of you, being the emotional beings that you are, they start developing feelings, even from that first interaction. And you're hopeful because who says that woman that you've dated wasn't in a totally terrible situation with a dude who just didn't know how to treat women? So she's met me now and she's hyper hopeful, like, okay, this thing looks like, and you know, I like the experience. At first glance, it looks and it feels right. Okay. Small society, she hears, oh, but he was over this trip with this girl Monday.
But question.
It's an issue.
But question. In the first interaction, did you tell her that you wanted to be exclusive?
But do you feel like you need to give that level of disclosure?
To protect yourself from women. See?
Right, but what I'm
Yes,
saying
sir.
is, okay, sometimes it's just an evolutionary thing. I meet you, we're talking, and I don't have any intention for it to go all the way to wherever. But we've met, I like you, you know, we have a mutual acquaintance. I'm like, hey, Angie, what are you doing Friday? Let's catch a movie. You're like, okay, yeah, sure. We go to the movies. I don't have an intention for Angie to be my girlfriend. We just vibing. So I don't feel like I need to say, okay, hey, Angie, I might go to this trip with another girl
But this
on
is
Monday.
where, if you date, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a cultural thing, but when you date, you feel it, you vet people,
Yeah.
right?
So that's part of the vetting process.
Yes.
The movies is the vetting.
The movies is the vetting. Like
Uh-huh.
when I'm out and I'm dating, I take nothing serious.
Right. So then
But
why?
that's just me.
So then
I'm
why
talking
would I
from the
need to
perspective
give you
of
the
other
disclosure?
women, because I have female friends, and how they look at things vastly differs from how I look at things. You see, I've had conversations with friends who would say their man is supposed to know, and to me, like if they want to do something,
Yeah.
they would say their man should know or he's supposed to know. How? Did you tell him? Did you tell him? Because men are simple creatures. Men are simple creatures. They're simple. We are the most complex of them all, right? Men are simple. You feed them. You don't give them too much stress. I'm not saying none, but too much. You know, they're happy. You know what I mean?
This feels derogatory.
They're happy, right?
We simple?
Men are simple creatures.
How so? Elaborate on that.
A lot of things women require to be happy,
Yeah.
men do not.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? So you guys are simpler of the two sexes,
Ah, okay.
right?
That's
I don't
that-
mean simple like stupid.
Right, so that's an apt description there.
Yes.
Because women are hyper complicated.
And none of us are the same. But some of us are similar. I've had conversation with friends, and when they're speaking, I go, "What? That don't even make no sense. Why would you do that? Like, why? You know?
Just how you feel
It's just how you feel.
in the
No,
moment.
don't get me wrong. I go through my emotions also, but I live with them because I find that people who avoid their emotions tend to be crazy.
When you avoid your emotions.
Because you're avoiding the inevitable. Emotions come, they come into your body,
Yeah.
and then they leave.
So you're supposed to process them.
Yes,
and
you
then
have
let
to
them
process everything. So if you're trying to fight them because maybe society says you shouldn't act this way, or maybe you're still, in the chains and bondage of your parents, or you're you're in church, or you're in whatever you're in, and you have to put on this facade for the world, you are a slave to the world because you're not being your true self. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get you.
You can't be yourself. The other day I celebrated a birthday. And one of the things I was telling Atiba that I posted and said, people need to not strive for this fake word called perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It is false. We are human and we are created with flaws. Who came up with the word perfect anyway? And why do we have to strive to be that? Why can't we strive to be a better individual?
Yeah, a better version of yourself.
Yeah. You understand? Why? I told you before I like to ask the question why. It's not to be combative, it's to know.
No, I think the world sets up ideals.
They do.
I think the world sets up ideals, and a lot of things that we engage with are artificial constructs. So a lot of the way we see things are constructs, and we've been conditioned to live a particular way, to do things a particular way, to see the world through a particular lens. And the ones of us that choose to see the world differently, we are labeled. So you might be a radical, you might be whatever. And it usually doesn't work out until it works out. Like, you'd be doing something and the world can't see it until it works out, until it scores. When it scores, everybody starts to clap and act like they were always on your side. So I get what you're saying.
I want to ask a question. You have a son that I know. Right? Let's say that you see your son dating a young lady. But, the young lady comes to the house and your son you see that he kind of taking it a little serious. Not too serious, but you could tell like he really like this girl. And then you go out the following weekend and you see the same young lady with another guy. And maybe you go the following day, you see her with another guy. How do you have that conversation with your son, or would you have that conversation with your son?
Of course. I would definitely have the conversation with my son. I would ask him, you have to ease into that.
Okay.
Because, men have egos as well. It's very fragile. You know what I mean? I would ease into the question of where do you see you guys going?
Yeah.
How much do you like her? Is this exclusive? Because just because she came to the house don't mean it's exclusive.
So so let's say he asks him how much you like, and he said, "Oh, mommy, I love her."
Really?
You say really?
Okay. Does she love you?
I feel so.
Why do you feel that way?
Because she tell me so, and she just show me a lot of vibes.
Are you the only man she's dating?
As far as I know.
Okay. Come with me this night. Let's go over the strip. You say the strip is Saha, right?
Yeah, okay.
Let's go to the strip tonight
So you carry your son for him to see her.
to see for himself.
Okay.
I'm not going to bash her. I'm going to let his eyes show him.
And then when he
And then that way, all of his reaction would be genuine to him, as opposed to me now feeding him information first and then getting him upset and having him riled up first before he actually sees something.
So let's say that when he sees the young lady now, he bursts into tears.
Oh, he gonna have to calm down. Right?
Yeah, with the crying thing? Wait.
No, not that he can't cry, but we will not put on an episode out here. Meaning, you're not going to go over there and lose your mind. Because remember I said, you're supposed to be codependent of each other. Right? So if you go over there, you have to be able to still control yourself to the point where you can see her and say, hey girl, how you doing? All is well? All right, have a good night.
I'm not very well.
No, no. But now she knows
That you saw her.
know,
Yeah.
right? And you didn't go out there and quote unquote make yourself look small in front of all these other men. Because remember I tell you before too, men have egos,
Okay.
right? So you still have to quote unquote keep up your manliness, I guess, in front of the other boys, right?
Yeah.
But let her know that you saw her, and that could be, not saying that it will be, that could be how you guys end. No explanation needed after that. We don't need to talk because we've already had the conversation of we were exclusive.
So you don't feel like your son needs to speak to her?
It's his choice.
Okay, so if
If he chooses to carry on,
yeah,
he now knows what type of person she is.
but you don't have any issues with her coming by the house. So if you see her by the house, like let's say next week.
But hold on, before we even got to there, you say you know what kind of person she is, but we're just talking
The
about
decision is still his.
we're just talking about in our culture. We would say that she's fast, but maybe she's not fast. Maybe
She may not be fast. She may just be out there dating. You see what I mean?
So
Or maybe he did not properly explain to her that they were exclusive.
and let's say that the dating involved, or like her level of dating involves, feeling out everything to the fullness and Tindering it out, right?
So intimacy. Yeah.
Intimacy, right? And he partakes. How you explain that to him in terms of accepting her for who she is?
That's a different conversation. And we ain't reached there yet. For me to go down that road. You understand? We're not at the point.
But as a parent, would judge that that Tindering type of dating differently than somebody just going out for drinks and having lunch?
Because nobody about to hurt my baby. You understand? My job is to protect him from all forces.
But let's say he okay with the Tindering it out and stuff like that.
That means he out there Tindering it. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but suppose not. Suppose he just say, "Mommy, I accept the fool she is. That's who she is."
That's not who my son is, though.
No.
No, that's not him, though.
But we're just talking about,
In general?
In general.
I can't talk about what I don't have. Like, you know what I mean?
You can't relate to it.
I can't relate to it. So I can't really talk about that. But, I've always said whenever you're dating someone, if you're going out with somebody, the one thing I ask him to be is honest.
Okay, let me ask you a different way then. Before you continue, not to cut you off. Let's say that you dating a guy and he Tindering it out, right? And part of the dating for him is intercourse and stuff like that, so you're intimate. And you kind of find out and stuff like that. How would you respect him for his choices? But so I guess it would be basically you choosing. It's based on your value system.
I accept people for who they are. See, the problem is that people don't accept people for who they are. People are who they are, and everybody's an individual. So if I'm dating you, and you have multiple people on your hand, guess what? I'm not even to be considered. Because, like we say, it had a light lamp to find me. As much as I say I don't want to be number one, I'm not playing spades or cards either. You understand me? Because if we're playing spades or cards, it's no shuffling of this deck to find me. It is when I'm ready to talk to you.
So in that way, you think that intimacy is a form of like saying, hey, like a serious?
No,
No?
no. Sex is one of the oldest things on the planet. That's why they try to kill the girls or the boys out there that's selling it. There's no emotions attached. I'm not saying never, right? But sex don't have nothing to do with feelings.
No?
None.
For women?
For people, general.
No, I don't agree.
How do hookers and whores exist?
I think they have to condition themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's a condition, and I think you have to. I think they get to a place where they're in survival mode, and they do this thing X amount of times, and after,
So it
let's
becomes
say,
like nothing.
yeah, it becomes numb. But I don't think
when
that.
it comes
I don't
when it
think it's
becomes
natural.
numb,
Right.
once it becomes numb, now there's no feelings attached to it. It is their job.
But a
But
specific-
they don't start
They
out
may
from
not
that
start
place.
out that way.
But men can start out from that place.
Men can start out sex. So because men can start out that way, what I'm saying makes sense still.
But we're looking at it in the context of
A woman?
not a woman that's in survival mode, but a woman that chooses to be that way, like promiscuous, just for the purpose of being promiscuous.
Some people just are.
Yeah. Guys, it's similar to some young men out there who choosing to be gangsters and they're not really from the cloth, right? They're choosing, and you look at them funny. You look at them funny
could
as well,
tell.
and you could tell. And
You
how
could
would you
tell.
feel as a woman, like looking at a man who you know, in of that cloth and want to be a gangster? I guess it's a similar feeling. It's a little turn off. I guess it's the same way that we feel like about some women who ain't really from the cloth.
Because
but-
some of them do it to appease like the men that they're with. And you have to have a strong mindset to not easily be pulled and pushed in certain directions. Yeah? It's a positive and a negative when people can't easily persuade you to do the things that they want you to do. You understand? So for me, like I was saying, sex, I'm just making a generalized statement. Sex and relationships are love. They do not live together. It is nice when they come together. You know what I mean? It is nice when you come together. Well, you can have sex with someone and don't call them tomorrow. Men and women.
That's scary. Hearing that from a woman is scary, because most women, I feel like, don't exist in that space. At least based on my experience.
But it can happen. They may not want to tell you, but it's true. You can have, maybe not here in St. Kitts,
Right.
but, I've been abroad, so I have different types of friends. I have different types of conversations with people. I know people who go on 4 dates a day. You know what I mean? For me, that's exhausting, because that means I can't do anything at all for the day.
Yeah.
I have to go for breakfast with this one, then brunch with this one, then lunch for that one, and then dinner. I'm tired. But there are people who open up themselves to receive all those type of energies. I don't have that time, nor do I want all them energies around me.
But those sorts of scenarios, is it kind of like transactional? Like they're going on dates for certain things?
Not everyone. Some of the women that I know, they actually are doing it because they genuinely want a mate. They want to be married. They want to be involved. So they're on.
Even the ones who Tinder it out?
Those who Tinder it out that I know, they just Tindering it out. They don't want nothing. The women I know who Tindering it out.
Yeah, it's just gratification.
It's just that. They just want, because they don't want to deal with. Remember your initial question to me was, do I want to be his number one? They don't want to be his number one. They don't want to be his number two. They don't want to cook his food. They don't want to
the
hear his
attachment.
stories. They don't want to hear anything.
So let me ask you a question. When you have conversation with some of those women and you get to like a deeper conversation, was it because they were possibly hurt from something before?
Major trauma. A lot of times sometimes it's childhood trauma. Sometimes they have no relationships with their fathers. It's a lot of things that come into play. Other times they're just promiscuous. Other times they come from what we would consider to be nice households.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had great upbringings. They went to really good schools. They work at, they have really great jobs working for the city and stuff like that. But in this aspect of their life, they're not able to maintain a relationship.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when we get to the top, we don't know how to deal with the opposite sex. You know what I mean? That sometimes you don't understand that you still have to be nice to men. You know, simply put, you have to be nice to them. Like me, I don't come across and be nasty to you. You know what I mean? Like I was telling Atiba, I went out and then these guys were there and they were super loud. And then I heard one of them say, "Oh, I'm going across here to talk to the girl in the green and white." I grabbed up all my things and left because absolutely not. I wanted no parts of that. I went to another place and the guys were there. I ordered some food, and those guys was like, we were just talking, like they just engaged me in their conversation when I showed up for the food. I was talking to them. Then in the end, they was like, "Miss, before you leave, my name is such and such. What's your name?" I said, "I don't have a name." But nice conversating with you guys. You know what I mean? They was like, okay, I like that. We'll see you around. I said, yes, you have a good day.
Is that approach a boundary? Like you just don't feel like you should give a guy that's being polite your name because you don't have any intention of getting to know that person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I meet people every day, all day. You know? I've had people who approach me and they call me by my whole name. I stand and I speak to them. You would swear I know who I'm speaking to. And I have no knowledge of who this person is.
You know, you just touched on something there that is one of the biggest issues I see, you know, especially in a community like this, which is boundaries.
Yeah.
Because, you know, simple interaction, you know, people don't normally have that type of interaction, you know, that type of response. Because people don't really set boundaries, you know, everybody's almost like so invasive into each other's business and stuff like that.
You have to have boundaries. You have to have them. And I think that is one of the reasons why maybe, like you said, the Kittian women are they're so defensive. Because people don't know how to set boundaries. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, if you disrespect me, I will ask you, who are you dealing with? Because not me. I need you to change your tone.
I think that comes from self-confidence. What I've noticed is so that whole scenario that you just outlined. You know, you had a conversation with them, and you were involved to some extent. And when you were ready to leave, one of the guys decided to take it a little bit further and probably ask for your name. Most women, in St. Kitts, from my experience, wouldn't handle it the way you handle it. They would give them their name.
Why?
Even if they didn't want to, because they didn't want to seem like a bad person.
They didn't want to get in a confrontation, you know, because, you know, some guys down here, you know.
But even when I've met men here who get upset, I laugh and keep walking. I don't have to give you what you want. And it's a reason why I didn't give it to you. Because sometimes I can sense that, you know, that you're a disrespectful man. You see, that's why I don't engage. I didn't get it from those guys who I spoke to. The loud ones, I got that they are disrespectful.
Right.
So let me ask you a question about that. When you said like the disrespect and, you know, who you're talking to and you need to change your tone and stuff like that. But let's say you're in a situation where somebody says something to you, and for you it feels disrespectful, right? And you respond like you don't really you didn't remember to like mash your brakes and ask up the question, so you kind of respond back to them with that same level of aggression, and then that person flips on and tell you who you think you're talking to.
The same person who initiated the disrespect. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you know some people that flip it like that. They could get loud, but you can't get loud.
One thing I've learned is this: people always come for the person who appears to be more aggressive in a situation as opposed to the person who lit the match. Ain't that the fire blazing, you know? Who lit the match? Who lit the match? That's who started it. Because if you didn't light the match, there would be no fire.
Yeah.
And people like to light match to cause fire and then complain how hot the fire is. It's something I told Tiba when we were coming here. I said, people like to, you can't cut me and tell me how to bleed.
Right.
You can't dictate my reaction to how you choose to disrespect me.
That's a challenge I have all the time because I'm super intense. I'm a very intense person, but in response, it's part of a response. So normally I'm very reserved, super reserved, yeah. But if it goes south, then I have no
Somebody
issue.
start
Yeah,
it.
I have no issues going all the way. And I always hear people say, "Oh, well, they only did this, so you didn't have to do that."
Don't minimize what they did and don't try to dictate how somebody, because when people tell me certain things about people, I always go, well, what you do?
Yeah.
What did you do? Right? And then you get back to the point and you're like, but if you didn't do that, then they wouldn't have done this.
Yeah, you caused it.
You caused it. So in reality is, the issue is not them, it is you. What they're doing. Yeah, they might not have needed to call your names. Yeah, they could have chose better words.
And you know what the person said to you? You never on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the person's
No,
side.
you become the victim.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm like, how are you the victim when you're the instigator? Pick a side. See what I mean?
But that's a common assault for the feminine, though. Women tend to do that a lot.
Because a lot of women have a problem with saying sorry. I don't have an issue telling you I'm sorry. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, right? I will get quiet. I will giggle. I would be like, Eva, you're right. I was so wrong. You know what I mean? But people always, it's to see who is at the top. Who is the alpha?
Sometimes it doesn't even feel like that. Sometimes it just feels like, I don't know. Like, I've had instances where there's a disagreement, right? And you know when you have a disagreement with your partner, instinctively you know you're wrong. Women, what I found is women don't tend to register the logic behind certain situations because they're acting based on, again, feelings. And when they calm down and they reassess the situation in the head, they're like, okay, I think
But do they come back and tell you sorry?
Never.
Never.
They move around and they come with like a sideways question. What you want to eat?
Are you
We
want
want to eat,
food?
yeah. Food is a peace treaty, you know. And another thing that was interesting to me, I think I sent it to you. The second reading that I sent to you. What it was? Hold on, I gotta check my phone. I gotta come back. Because it's a question I had for you.
No, I'll pull it up on my phone.
All right.
Okay. Question for me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but why do women do that? The women find it super difficult to apologize and say sorry.
I think it's an individual thing. For me, I tell people, I can tell you that I'm sorry and be and genuinely I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I will come and say sorry because it's not going to take nothing off of me because I'm not always right. But if I am wrong, if I am right, you cannot get that sorry. The sorry will look something more so like this. I will apologize to you for my delivery. I shouldn't have delivered it the way that I did.
Yeah.
That is what I will apologize to you for because it came off rather aggressive, or I understand why your feelings would be hurt because of my delivery, but me ain't wrong with what I say. You understand? So to bring peace, I will tell you that I'm sorry, but I will not apologize for what I say if I'm right.
If you feel you're right.
No. If I'm right, not feel I'm right. Once I am right, that's it.
No apologies.
No apology.
I'm not apologizing for it because we're not children. These are things that people tell children to do. Apologize to them to make things better.
So let me push on that a little bit. If you're right, if you're telling the truth, because right and wrong is kind of like subjective, right? So
But if there are facts behind what I'm saying, then it's right.
it's the truth.
Yeah. But my delivery is what was wrong.
Because I hate sometimes in relationships people fight for right and wrong, like who right and who wrong. But when it's the truth, you can't deny the truth,
You can't deny the truth.
right?
You can't deny
But
the
right
truth.
and wrong, people say, well, it feel wrong to me. But no, okay, if they look for the truth.
Yeah, we're not talking about feelings. We're
Yeah.
talking about facts and
Talking
fiction.
about women is feelings.
Yeah, facts have nothing to do with your feelings.
No,
Facts is the truth.
Facts is the truth. Facts don't have nothing to do with your feelings.
So I mean, the question I had for you was something that I read about a women do not register like track records. Like your track record as a man sometimes don't mean as much to women in the moment. So let's say you had a perfect track record of always, going to the shop and buying things and making sure being dependable, and then you
As
drop
a
the
man.
ball as a man, and then you drop the ball once. It's almost like the end of the world. Like in the moment, they feel like the world gonna end.
But what made you stop? What made you drop this ball?
Don't just forget. Something happened.
But you see, when I told you before, I like to ask why and what happened, right? How come this? But I only do those line of questioning with people that I care about. When I don't care, nothing you do affects me. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you drop the ball one time, I'm not going to kill you for it. If it becomes a habit, I may not say anything right away, but I'm remembering it.
But it's funny. I remember having a conversation with an elder, a guy once, and he was talking about when you're treating people. Let's say you're giving them all A+ treatment, like especially feminine A+ treatment. From the minute you give them an A-, B+, is
It
a problem.
registers.
But let's say you're a guy now, and you're giving them F treatment, right? And then later on you give them a C. The woman is happy, you know what I mean? Because you make an improvement.
Yes.
But if the guy giving her the A+ treatment, just give her, no, you fall off.
Yes.
Like, what going on? You know what I mean?
Because there's something different that's going on. You see what I mean? Because men have drive, right? Men normally are driven creatures, right? You have purpose. You're getting up your line. You know what you want. Most of you are like goal oriented. You know what I mean? So therefore, that is why, with that knowledge, right, as a woman, with that knowledge, if you drop the ball here, what happened in your life that took your vision off of this thing that you normally do to cause you to forget it? It's usually something that happened,
But see, it's kind of tough too because, in parenting, when you have children and you have a child that is like the super talented one, the achiever, right? And then you have one that's not really, inclined.
Yeah.
They tend to get the most attention compared to the other one, right? And that in a sense could cause a problem between both siblings and stuff like that, right? Rivalry. But it's just like, it's the same thing when you're in dating and stuff like that. Like, and this is a woman always, like you said, women tend to forget the track record. So let's say they meet a guy and they get in the F treatment. That's a guy that women like to refer to as toxic. And afterwards they go back to him right after. Like they'll forget how toxic that guy is when he comes back and he gives them a joke. Maybe a month later,
And they sweet again.
And they sweet them up and give them a C. Then afterwards, when he don't get what he need or something happen, he get back a F.
But there are people who are conditioned to only accept less. You see? If they are not used to, some people are not used to men, let's say, taking them out on dates. Right? They're not used to men who will take them on trips, buy them groceries, things that I consider to be normal. You see what I'm saying? Then they meet a man and that's all he does. He don't do nothing for you. That's what you're used to. So now you meet a man that comes in, one of you guys, when you come in, you bring groceries. Oh, you're a top man. Right? When for you it's nothing. I'm coming to this house every day. I should bring groceries.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see the situation and the situation.
Then, like, I remember dating a guy one time. He came over to the house. He drank all my juice. Right? He drank all the juice. The issue wasn't that he drank the juice, The issue was you came back the next day knowing that you drank all the juice on the previous day and came in with no juice.
Yeah, came with your hand, them swinging.
And then thought it was a problem because I brought it up. Because I said, so you come over here today, cool and calm, just like I'm talking to you. So you come here today and ain't bring no juice, what are you supposed to drink? Find no juice here, Did I say anything wrong? No. But his ego, right, was bruised because I had to tell him that he was supposed to replace
It's a challenge. You challenged him.
in a sweet tone. Imagine that.
The tone doesn't matter. A challenge is a challenge anyway. You spin it.
Right? But I shouldn't, for me, like some women say men should know. Remember, I mentioned that before?
Yeah.
For me, I don't like to mention certain things to men, but I understand that they may come from a situation where they didn't have to do any of the things that I require.
Yeah.
That is why I just talk.
Yeah. I feel like in relationships, you have to teach people how to treat you to some extent.
Because they don't know the better.
Yeah, they don't know. But, Angie,
Yes, sir.
it's been a beautiful conversation.
Thank you.
And an hour has flown.
Yes.
We're actually at the end of the show.
It's too soon, you know.
It's too soon. It's too soon.
So, we had a deep dive with Angie on issues covering emotions.
And this is actually probably our last show for the year.
Yeah.
Finished it out with me, huh?
Yeah. Finished out with Angie. So, everybody on social media, out there in Radio Land, thank you for listening. This has been the He Nuh Show. And as usual, continue to tap in with us on social media, on YouTube, anywhere you can find the content.
And all the best for the season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas when it comes. Happy
Merry
New Year when
Christmas,
it comes.
Happy New Year.
Oh, yes. Happy New Year.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Have a good evening.
Good night.